Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the Ring of Fire 2.0. And now today, thank God, finally, we'll be talking about Hell in a Cell. And I must admit, I actually caught all of this. Well, it was a tiny bit I missed, but not much. I must admit, I'm going to briefly talk about the kickoff show because that was honestly kind of entertaining. I mean, if you get a chance to watch that, watch it. I mean, they had a fucking Mizdow TV segment. Mizdow TV. And half the time, every time Miz would say something, Sandow would start copying him. The Mizdow gimmick seemed so dumb, but he's just so committed to it that I just can't hate it. I really hope that when this is over, they give Sandow a push, like a title run in the mid card, because this gimmick is fucking amazing. Anyway, Mark Henry defeated Bo Dallas in like a half a minute squash, which was, if anything, funny for the fact that Bo Dallas essentially made a very subtle, as far as I can tell, subtle Ebola joke. So, which I was going outside actually to check if the mail had come yet or something like that. And he makes that joke, and I just come straight back over to it because I've taken my headphones off and just like turn the volume thing on, turn the speakers on. And it's like I immediately came back and sat down and paid attention because that was hilarious. I'm surprised WWE would go for that. So yeah. Anyway, and like fucking Bo just sort of like, well, it's like, well, I lost, but because I wasn't ready and you're an asshole, I win in life or something like that. Anyway, the first match of the actual pay-per-view was the 2 out of 3 falls match for the IC title between the champion Ziggler and Cesaro. It was a great match for, like, honestly, I've said this before, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not a Dolph Ziggler fan, or at least not a big Dolph Ziggler fan. Like, he doesn't annoy me as much as he used to, but still, I don't really see the appeal. Anyway, he has a really good match with Cesaro, but Cesaro loses 2 straight falls. And that is the only thing that really pissed me off about that match. Like, did he really have to lose 2 straight falls? Like, I wanted Cesaro to win, but I would have been satisfied with him losing if he had lost, the last fall. Like, Dolph Ziggler got the first one because of, like, they were doing this little, after a while they started doing this friggin' pin sort of situations, like one after the other, after the other, after the other, for like a good minute. And finally Ziggler got him in like some sort of fisherman's hold pin thingy. It's very hard to describe, but you pretty much have to go looking for it. And gets a 3 count, which I didn't expect was going to happen because that was pretty quick. Like, that was like in the first minute or 2 of the match, I think. I could be wrong. And then the match basically goes for like the rest of the time, and Cesaro finally loses because I think it was like he took a super kick, something before that, and then the zigzag. And it was just like, okay, but why did he have to lose 2 straight falls? He could have at least won, like, lost the first one, won the second one, and then lost the third one. But it seems so fucking stupid to end it that way. Like, come on. It was it was a good match, but that fact for it just sort of knocked it down a notch for me. Nikki versus Brie Bella was next, and thank God, because they got it out of the way early. Like I was shocked because I thought they were gonna like have this be the sort of the piss break, if you will, between the main events or something, but nope. Or at least between the second last match, at least the third last match and the last match. But no, they got it out of the way here, thank God. I'm honestly glad Nikki won, because even though I don't give a fuck about this feud, I'm at least starting to warm to Nikki Bella because she's actually improving. Brie hasn't really improved much, if at all. So, yeah, like I had no idea that there was even a stipulation to this match that the loser became the winner's personal assistant for a month, and if they don't comply with it, they have to quit. Which I'm guessing that's probably what's going to happen anyway. Nikki will take it too far, Brie goes, fuck this, and just walks out. I don't give a shit about the feud, but at least thank God the one that's actually improving won. Next up, we had Goldust and Stardust against the Usos for the tag titles in a rematch from Night of Champions. Great match. I really paid attention to it, which is more than I can say for most of these matches, honestly. Maybe not as much attention as I wish I could. Like, I wasn't glued to it the whole time. But, I was paying quite a lot of attention. Honestly, I think these teams have good matches. I hope they don't milk this too much. But at the same time, I haven't really been watching Raw or SmackDown. Raw for over 2 years and SmackDown for a couple of months, maybe. Granted, they don't really seem to keep it up on the network, so, oh well. Goldust and Stardust retain. And honestly, I think I'll be calling those two what Renee Young called them, the Bizarro Brothers, because that sounds pretty fitting. So, they win with, I thought it was a sack whack, which if you don't know what that is, fuck you. But no, Stardust kicked him and kicked one of the Usos, I forget which, in the nuts. And then Goldust followed up with his finisher, and they won and retained. And I was like, you know what? I'm fine with that. I want Goldust and Stardust to have a good reign. I want them to have not necessarily an extremely long reign or anything. I mean, I don't want them to just repeat what the Usos did, because really I don't think there are enough teams to justify that at the moment. But I do hope they at least keep the belts until WrestleMania, because hey, why not? Which, ironically, that might be about the same length of time that the Usos had the titles, or close enough. But, oh well. Generally, if they lose them, I'd rather them lose, unless they do a split thing so they can finally fucking face each other at WrestleMania, then I'd want them to retain the belts until WrestleMania. Or at least until the Royal Rumble, or like Elimination Chamber, or something like that. Generally, I want them to still be tag champions until a early 2015 pay-per-view. And then the shocker of the night, Cena versus Orton, was the fourth match on the overall main show, and the fifth match of the night, if you count the pre-show. That was insane. I fucking almost shat myself because I was not expecting. Not only was I not expecting Cena Orton to not be the main event, I was so surprised that they put this on halfway through the show. That is insane. That never, like, who thought in this day and age we would see John Cena and Randy Orton facing off as the halfway through main event? Like, that's insane. Honestly, it was an alright Hell in a Cell. It wasn't really all that memorable. Cena wins lol after an AA off the second turnbuckle through a table. Honestly, and the funny thing is Randy finally did an RKO out of nowhere. Cena was going for his 5 moves of doom. He hits one shoulder block, then he comes in for another one, and Orton gets him with a RKO, which is, I think, the first RKO out of nowhere. The first proper RKO out of nowhere that's either happened in years or that has just happened, period, because I did not see that RKO coming. And I said it on Twitter, but I'll say it again. This match was kind of an ROH match in the finishes because they hit like about 10 finishes on each other or so. That's exaggerating, but still. And didn't get a pin. Like Orton, he hit that RKO out of nowhere as a counter to a shoulder block. And Cena kicked out after 2, like he hadn't even just been RKO'd. Like I was expecting, okay, maybe he'll roll a shoulder. Something like that, get his foot on a rope. But, well, of course, they're in the middle of the ring, so of course he couldn't do that. But still, honestly, it kind of bugs me that Cena won for the simple fact we've already seen Lesnar, Cena twice now. 3 times in the last few years. Which is honestly more than enough because their SummerSlam match was shit. Their Night of Champions match was shit. I haven't seen their Extreme Rules match from 2 years ago, so I can't comment on that. They had a pretty meh match from what I recall at Backlash 2003. So, that's like, what, 4 matches? None of which have really been all that great that I know of, at least. As I said, 3 out of those 4 I've actually seen. I'm going to have to actually sit down and watch that Extreme Rules match. Yeah, Cena Lesnar 5, I am really not looking forward to. I guess at least we don't have to put up with it at Survivor Series or TLC. Because, this is going to be like 3 months from now, sort of, or 2 and a bit. And it's like, really, guys? I get they've pretty much abandoned the 30-day rule, but come on. You could at least throw someone at Lesnar. Like, he doesn't have to show up. I don't care if he shows up on the shows or not. I'm fine with them just using Heyman. Because Heyman's the only one that should be doing any talking for him anyway. But you gotta have him at least show up at the pay-per-views. Like, I didn't like that The Rock was champion, but at least he showed up for the Royal Rumble, and then defended the title at both WrestleMania and Elimination Chamber. At least he did that. That is more than Lesnar. Like, yes, that's 2, and you could argue there was a month between Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania, but still. And hell, I think he should have defended it on Raw. But anyway, all that aside, we're going to have to deal with Cena Lesnar 5 at the Royal Rumble. Honestly, I think they're going to keep the belt on Lesnar until like WrestleMania or something, but who knows? At least now we don't have to sit through Cena winning the Rumble again. Possibly. unless they throw him in there anyway, because he'll probably lose again. Sheamus defeated The Miz for the United States Championship next, which isn't that amazing? After they follow up a Hell in a Cell match between involving an overdone feud to a thrown together feud of Sheamus and The Miz for the US title. And I really did not give a fuck about this match, I must admit. It's pretty much just, this was only really watchable for the finish, like just generally after the match, where Sandow just rolled in, laid down, playing dead next to Miz, and then Sheamus essentially just used Miz like a puppet, and Sandow did everything that Sheamus was making the Miz do. And it was friggin' hilarious. They even did a YMCA thing. That was funny. Rusev defeated Big Show. That's really all you need to know. Everyone, their mother was thinking Mark Henry was going to turn heel. I didn't really buy into it, aside from the fact, until he actually came out and the fact that they actually hinted it, I was like, oh, well, maybe it might happen. But no, it didn't. So unless it happens on Raw, which will have aired today, I think, because I'm doing this on a Tuesday, and Raw should have aired by now. Maybe it happened then. I don't know. I still don't watch Raw, and I refuse to until it's worth watching, or I decide to start reviewing it or something, just to give me an excuse to do something every week. But granted, there's already someone I know who does that anyway, or at least know of, who does it anyway, so Okay. AJ versus Paige. That was pretty good. It apparently went 6 minutes. Wow. It didn't seem that long. Granted, I guess 6 minutes really isn't all that long anyway, when you really think about it. Oh. And wow, I just realized Cena and Orton went 25 minutes. Fuck. That's horrible. Anyway, AJ defeated Paige, pretty much because of Alicia Fox being an idiot. In storyline, of course. Looks like Paige is going to get counted out. Alicia throws her back in, and AJ basically just gets her in the Black Widow, and bam, it's over. Paige immediately taps out. And then Paige slaps the shit out of Alicia Fox. So there you go. There's that done. And then we have the main event of Rollins versus Ambrose, which still fucking shocks me that this was given the main event spot. I'm happy that it was, because I would honestly argue that it's match of the night, if not a contender for match of the night. It was fucking insane brawling. Both guys fell off halfway down the cell, which I was expecting one to when they were getting to that spot. The interesting thing is they probably could have fallen off the top and not died, because it looked like they made the cell lower. Maybe just in case, I guess, one of them fell off. Like, it wouldn't have been as big of a fall, because I'm pretty sure they made it like a lot taller in some aspects for a while, just so people couldn't get up on it and jump off. But I guess in this case, they needed the halfway down to be a specific height. So, it was a really cool spot. I wasn't expecting both guys to fall off. Then they finally get back in, and really, let's face it, that entire bit that at the start where Ambrose went up the top, it was pretty much just a callback to the Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell. which wasn't a bad thing, but hell, fucking. I even called when Ambrose did a second turnbuckle elbow drop onto Rollins, who was laid out on a table on the sort of in the gap between the ring and the cell. I basically just called that Ambrose channeling McFoley. But yeah, the finish was fucking insane and amazing. I don't care what anyone says. That finish was fucking amazing. So Ambrose pretty much has Rollins beat, and then the lights go out. And then you just hear this sort of speaking in tongues voice, which I recognized finally, what had actually been playing in some of those Bray promos that had been shown recently. So I was like, oh shit, is this Bray? And then it was like, I saw the torch and that, and I was like, oh shit. And then he comes out. I thought he came out through the hole that the smoke was coming through, but no, he came out from under the ring and then rushed in and then rushed Dean Ambrose. And the crowd went ape shit. Then Wyatt hit Ambrose with a side slam, and Rollins pinned him and got the lights came back on, I think, and Rollins came on properly anyway, and then Rollins got the pin, won, went back as quickly as possible. Bray picked Ambrose up, hit him with the Sister Abigail, and essentially it just kind of ended on Bray from what I can recall. And that was fucking amazing because it was that sudden realization. I think that's why the crowd was sort of going nuts from what I can recall. Is just the fact that now we get, yes, I honestly think that either if Rollins and Ambrose isn't over yet, it's either going to be over very soon, or they're putting it on the back burner for now and they'll continue it later. Like maybe they'll finally have a definitive winner match at WrestleMania or something, which honestly I'd be fine with them holding it off until then. So yeah, overall, I'd say this was probably the best pay-per-view of the year so far, by the simple fact of not much was either boring or, well, I'll put it this way. Most of it was a bit meh, but the overall feel I had watching it live was like, you know what, this wasn't a horrible pay-per-view. So, if I had to give it a rating, I guess I wouldn't give it an 8. I'd give it more like a 6.5 out of 10 or something like that. But yeah, not a horrible pay-per-view, I must say. The pay-per-view quality has been slightly improving, maybe, since I started these. It's progressively gotten to the point that there are less. There's more that I just care so much about certain stuff that it improves my overall view of the pay-per-view. The Ziggler-Cesaro match, the tag title match, and the main event. Those 3 matches were enough to make that pay-per-view watchable. And hell, even Rusev Big Show at least had some hard strikes and stuff. And Miz Sheamus was redeemed with the post-match stuff. So, it works out. So, yeah, that's about it. That's all I've got, really. I'm not sure if I'll have the network again by the time the next pay-per-view comes around. So, but that said, tomorrow, hopefully, I should finally get around to doing that fucking Royal Rumble 2005 review that I've been meaning to do. So, yeah. Unless I already did I already do that? I keep forgetting because I did one. Yeah, I did the news revolution, but I haven't done this yet. So, woo. With that, I'm going to head off and play some Destiny, I guess, on my PS4. So, yeah, I'll see you guys. I'm Thomas Fyre, and I will see you guys next time. Hopefully, this didn't go that long.